Okay, so I've got a new setup. So this is going to be off the cuff, kind of show, tell, not really review. Because of my new setup, I'm just doing this as a test. So I'm going to show this app and why I prefer this app over Fly. So this is where you start. So this is everything in the start menu. I'm going to do a bit of rambling on because my new setup is obviously a new mic setup. So I need to talk as much as possible to figure out if I got any problems on the microphone, especially when I turn different directions. My head turns in different directions. With this being off the cuff as well, it's going to be hard for me to try and think off the top of my head different things about this app. I have spent a few hours in this app and a few hours in the Fly app, so that's my experience with both these apps. So to start with, this app has lots of different fine-tuning you can do, which is better than Fly, but it also makes it more complicated to learn, I guess, especially for people who are not very tech savvy. You can get right into the menus and get it fine-tuned exactly how you want. Well, you can't do that with Fly. With Fly, they're trying to cater to a specific experience, which is that of a drone flight, which is why it's called Fly. So you go into enter single player mode. These controls are kind of useless. You can't actually control anything by the thumbsticks, and it took me a few minutes to realize this. You can only do these horrible turns with the joysticks, as you can see. You can't actually tilt up and down and do stuff like that. So the way you control in this one is by you doing like a Superman movement. You push forward on your thumbstick and then point to where you want to go. And I'm in Florida at the moment. Let me see where I want to go. Completely lost. Let's just go to a city. So these tiles are from Google. So they're the same both on Fly and Earthquest. The only difference is the way they're processed in each app. So if something's flat in this, it'll be flat in Fly as well. It'll be flat in both of them because it's pulling these tiles off from Google. Now, apparently it costs about 10 cents per tile to load. So every tile, every time I have to pop in, every time that's a tile loading, that's costing the company 10 cents. Now, this guy who does Earthquest is just one developer, and he does more updates, but he's also done some workarounds to avoid being charged. So that's something that might be a problem in the future if Google decide to pull that out. So it's not free anymore. And the method is used, then it's either going to take his money out of pocket or he's going to have to start charging people. And that's going to be the same for Fly, but Fly's already seemed to be moving towards a subscription-based model. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like Fly as well, is they're very corporate and they seem to be moving towards a subscription-based model. Now something like this is 100% not worth paying for a subscription for. You'll probably spend an hour a month, if that, in this, just looking around. Now it's good for scoping out areas or exploring, but that's about it. It's not really like a game you can play. So it's not worth a subscription in my opinion. So if they start charging a subscription, it's dead in the water in my opinion, because it's like who's gonna want to pay like £10 a month to spend an hour a month on something, if that. You get way more value on other things you can pay a subscription for. It all depends how they're going to manage this. If Google decide to like pull the rug from underneath them, to speak with these, because it has to use like an API model. So when I started this, I selected single player, and it uses like a Google API, which is a free API. So if Google decide to pull that free API, then it's going to cost something. Now you may hear my cat, because the cat's just gone up onto his cat tree and he made a thud. He might also try and get my attention, so he might try and play up. That's the differences, right? So talking about the models, right? The difference in the models about this is better than Fly in the models, and the reason for this is personal, but I think it's I have good justification for it. Is when you're in Earthquest, you can set all the settings. So this is all in I've set all this to the highest settings. So that's why you get pop-in. Now with Fly, you don't get as much pop-in, but you don't get as much clarity, in my opinion. Now they're going to argue theirs is just as clear as this one, but I disagree. And another thing as well is the 3D the 3D is better because Earthquest has gone for like a 3D model effect. So it's like you're looking down on a table with a handcrafted model in front of you in 3D. Now with Fly, they've gone for the opposite. What they've gone for is a human scale model. So when you go down in Fly, it's like you're kind of like human. It's like a human looking through a drone buildings kind of model. Whereas with Earthquest, it's more a 3D model on the table that's in 3D, and it pops out way more on Earthquest than it does on Fly. You do get more of a 3D experience on Earthquest, in my opinion. Now you do have Street View as well, so if you point to where you want to go and press B, it will load to the Street View. Now, one of the things this is both in Earthquest and Fly. One of the problems I have is the loading times, which is understandable. This is like 8K, really clear Street View in VR. But every time you want to move forward, you have to wait for it to load, so you can't really like zoom across the roads in this view. It'd be good if they're like cached, like 4 images cached forward and 4 images cached backwards as soon as you load. So while you're looking around, it's loading the next 4 images. So then there's less load time. In my opinion, that's what they could do. But obviously that means it's more server intensive and stuff, and app intensive. So you do get areas that aren't processed, and that's not an app fault. That's a Google problem. So you press B again. So if I go to some less known area, say that's another thing this does as well, is when you press the trigger button there, you can go faster. So Fly goes this speed all the time non-stop, you can't control it. Whereas Earthquest, if you press the trigger, you can go super fast in it, and it's really good for getting to different locations, and the higher you go, the faster you go as well. You can really like get accurate. So if you look at this, these trees aren't in 3D, so they're all flat. And if I try and find like a building, you'll see what I mean. That's not been processed. Here, these buildings aren't processed. You might not see. Oh no, they are a bit actually. Sorry, let's pop in. Pop in them. I'm trying to find. Why is it you want to find somewhere and you can't? Right, so these aren't processed. Yes, these look like a new build as well, so that's why they're probably not processed. So this is just basically like a photograph mapped onto a 3D surface. So the surface has actually been modeled with hills and everything, so you can kind of see like the bumps and mounds and stuff. But there's no models been processed on it, so I don't know if you can see this, because it's obviously not 3D for you, so everything's in 2D for you. But for me, this is like an image on top of a table, like someone's just put a photograph on top of a table. There's no 3D to it whatsoever. I guess you can probably see this in 2D as well, because the shadows will be different. So that's what it looks like when it's not processed. Now, this will be the same in both apps. So both in this app and in Fly, it's going to this specific tile is going to look like this, because both of them pull from Google, and it's Google that maps all this out. Just like Street View is mapped by Google as well. But this is America. If we go somewhere what's probably more interesting for most people, towards the Pacific, which is that way, I think. I should see Hawaii, I think, if I keep going. I'm a little bit lost. That way. Pacific. Hawaii should just be somewhere around here. Hawaii. Go that way from Hawaii, Pearl Harbor. No. Okay, Japan. If we go to Tokyo, you can see one of the great things about these apps, is you can see how big some areas. So if you look at Tokyo, you can really see how vast it is as a city. So you go down, and like Tokyo just goes on, and that's another thing you see about countries. You can see how they're developed, and you can see how Japan is developed because it's so many mountains in the country. You can see they're developed along all the rivers and coastlines. and they haven't developed it because of the mountains kind of stop the development. So you can see they've developed along the rivers and the coastline because that's where it's most flat. And obviously once they hit the mountains, they run out of space. So the only way they can go is up. You see some of the skyscrapers now in 3D models. Now this loads slower, like it says, because I have this on a higher res settings, but you can lower the settings and reduce the pop-up. Another thing about this app that is better than Fly is you can see further out in the distance. So Fly cuts it off and you'll have like a line in Fly where you can't see any further and it'll stop you. That's because it's trying to give you a specific experience in the app, whereas this one's just letting you do what you want. I prefer to see as far as possible. I don't care if it's looking horrible or if it's going to take a long time to load. I want to see into the distance. So this is what it looks like with skyscrapers. And then you can fly across the city and go down. Now, I'm not sure if this will work the way I want it to. Yes, it has worked the way I want it to. Now you can look up and around. I can spend probably 1 or 2 hours each time exploring places in this app myself. Other people might probably spend longer or less time, or they might just fly around and then that's it. But the street view for me is one of the most important things. I just wish the loading times were better. I love the street view. I've actually got 3 apps now that all just do nothing but street view, which is not nothing but street view, but have street view as the main feature of the app. If we go up, if we can see how to press B, sorry, I need to get out. Start exploring some other areas of Tokyo. You can see how vast it is, it just goes on and on. There's no room for them to develop anywhere else other than up. You can just see it's house after house after house. Kind of a horrible place to live, really, in my opinion. Yeah, your holidays would basically be to go out somewhere on the outskirts of the city so you can experience some greenery, because it's just nothing but greyness. There's a schools or something, sports centres or schools. It seems weird that it's 3 in a row. I think that's typical development of Japanese schools, as they have them in like these blocks. And then in like movies, they always show the kids on the roof in the movies. Swimming pool. Yeah, they even get to the point where they're developing on top of roofs. They've run out of space that much. Instead of having an actual tennis court somewhere else, they actually put them on the roof. And just so you can see, I bet if I go onto the road, you could probably see how high that actually is in Street View. You can look up in Street View. When I was a kid, I used to jump fences like this to get out of school. It's not a very good fence, easy to jump over. I'd be gone in seconds with that fence. Let me just see if I can show you some of the coastal areas as well. That's Mount Fuji, I think. Some of the features this has as well, like I said, you can hold that up to your headset and it'll go back to Street View, so that gives you like a glimpse of Street View. What is that? Is that an airfield? So if we tap on that, so them little white balls are your actual pointer, like mouse pointer, so you use them to tap. So this is kind of really old arcade menu is done, and I wish you'd do something a bit better. So you got like AI, and then you got your preferences. So you got like 8K resolution, your terrain and stuff. So you can turn all that down so you get less popping. Now popping is you get what you get when, so like all that's kind of blurry, and as I move you can see it kind of snapping in. That's popping. You get that in all games. It's kind of like the only way it processes, so you can't process everything you see because it would just put too much resource intensive on the CPU and graphics card. And all games are developed like that. You can only see so far into the distance on games before they do trickery, which is like they normally do like 2D images in the background to hide the fact that it's not actually in 3D and being processed in 3D. Although that's slowly changing, obviously, with better graphics over time. You can see, look, you can see even in between the mountains, they're developing between the mountains all along, and that'll be where the river. There'll probably be like yeah, there's a river. The river will be going down that. The river's like cut between the mountains, and then they developed either side of the river. So the only problem with this kind of development is obviously natural disasters probably occur a lot more and affect a lot more. You've got like landslides, flooding, and you've got earthquakes as well in Japan. Now, there was a really cool resort area I found somewhere along here, and I can't find it again. I lost it. I tried to look for it yesterday, and I couldn't find it again. It was like developed into the mountain. It looked really cool. They actually put like a hotel along the mountain. It went all the way up and down the mountain, and then there was like these pools outside each like room, by the looks of it. I'm not sure where it was somewhere along here because I remember the train line cutting through the mountain. I won't find it again because I couldn't find it either day. So this to Japan would probably be the countryside. So some of this will be in 2D as well. As you can see, this is 2D. That's because Google's decided not to put the processing power into converting this into 3D because it's such a small area. There's no point. Keep going all the way along the coast, you can kind of see what it's like. In the more rural areas. I don't think, is this going to be 3D? No, this is in 2D, so even this area is in 2D. Which is disappointing me, and I think they should at least, Google should at least aim to develop all of the coastal areas. That's where most cities are. Most human activity even is. Now, this isn't that area. This area had like an hotel that went all the way up and down the hill, the mountain. It was like, is that it? Yeah, that's it. Found it. I didn't think I was going to find it. It's here. It looks like this is kind of like a holiday resort area for Japan. And you got this really cool. Yeah, this is a good thing about the app. Is it allows you to explore and find these unique places. You probably wouldn't have even never heard of this place or seen this place unless you was probably Japanese. It has like a resort hotel area here. Look, it looks like you got like in some of these rooms. I don't know if it's like if these are like private or hotel rooms because they look really good. Only some of them seem to have pools, what look like pools anyway. It's actually like, as you can see, it's like developed up into the mountain. I wonder if I can do like a street view. I can't really see much in the street view. I don't even know what that is. See if I can go here. No, it won't let me do a street view up there. I wonder if you can see it from the street though. Like if I go somewhere up here. Your vision's too hidden. That's the outside of that area, but it's too steep to see anything. There's nowhere like high up I can go, I don't think, to see down. Maybe if I look down, then all the trees are going to be covering. Maybe this car park, see if there's a 3D. No. Oh, that gives me some vertigo. That's really steep. Feels like I'm leaning forward in VR. So yeah, I'm kind of dragging this on a bit now. This is the app. Hopefully my microphones come out okay. Testing my new setup. And there's a 50-50 chance whether or not I upload this because I've already had a hard drive wipe. I lost about 3 or 4 test gameplay kind of thing with the new setup, so I decided to run this app and do a test to make sure everything's okay with the setup. And a new hard drive, and I got another second hard drive coming today, and I'm going to use that as a backup. So now I'm going to have at least a backup of it. So if I get a failure, I can go back to the backup, even though it's probably not going to be mirrored. Not going to be an active mirror. It's probably going to be once I record, I'll record and backup. So if I get a failure during record, then I'll use that, but at least I don't lose everything. This seems like a nice area to go on holiday to be honest. There's a bit of a beach. So yeah, you can actually have AI as well. You have to pay for it. And I'm tempted to see how much that is. I don't think it's going to be very useful for me. You can save locations as well. So if I want to save this, I could save it. But you're only limited to a certain amount of locations. I'm going to end that here now. Hopefully that's gives people a good idea of which app to get. Because unlike me, I had to buy both and test both, and then this is the one I landed on. And I end up being in the most over Fly and Earthquest. This one is the one I would recommend to people. As for longevity, I think they both pretty much got the same longevity because Fly could turn into a subscription model. If it doesn't, it'll probably last longer than Earthquest because Earthquest is just a single guy. So if he decides to drop the app, gets bored of the app, it's dead in the water basically, the app. Just like if Google decide to pull the free tiles, the free API for the tiles. If Google decides to stop that, then he's going to have to either pivot to a subscription model or it come out of his own pocket or drop it. So that's all up in the air. So you might have a few years of this app being the way it is, but both of them have a longevity issue. So I still recommend Earthquest over Fly, in my opinion. The controls are a little bit better in Fly because I hate the Superman controls. I'd rather just use my joysticks to control, and you can't tilt up and down on the joysticks. So I wish the up and down there actually moved you up and down. I don't know why I haven't enabled that as an option. It's pretty simple to enable, but it's done like a Superman thing, which I hate in VR when there's unnecessarily adding hand movements. Oh, it's VR, so you can move your hands about. Let's just add this feature in because you can move your hands about. It's like games in a forest where they get you to build a tent and they get you to hold the tent and nail it and stuff like that. It's just let me place the tent and press the button. I'm a gamer. I don't want to be swinging my arms about. If I want to swing my arms about, I'll get Beat Saber. So yeah, Earthquest is the one I recommend to everybody to get.